Niger is expelled from the economic community of West African states. But for what? The expulsion occurred without clear explanations, but officials later stated a supposed security threat posed by Niger to the ECOWAS as justification. After this, there is a broader resistance by African nations, including Niger, against any attempts by the West to regain dominance. Despite the risk of expulsion from ECOWAS, these nations, driven by a desire to secure their sovereignty, are unwilling to allow external influence to assert control again. The question remains, what motivates African nations to take this stand? Let's find out. In the heart of West Africa, the Economic Community of West African States (ECOWAS) stands tall as a symbol of collaboration and unity among nations. Established to meet the unique needs of West African countries, ECOWAS was expected to be a catalyst for fostering harmony, cooperation, and conflict resolution among its member states. However, recent occurrences have overshadowed the organization's commitment to these noble principles. People question whether ECOWAS is living up to its promise of creating a united front for West African nations. It's disheartening to observe that even within a group dedicated to fostering unity, African nations are not immune to discrimination from their Western counterparts. ECOWAS, born out of the collective aspirations of West African nations, was designed to be a force for positive change. Its primary goal was to create a space where member states could work together to address common challenges, enhance economic cooperation, and promote regional peace. The organization's framework aimed to surpass borders, fostering an environment where solidarity could flourish. Yet, the recent experiences of West African nations raise concerns about whether this unity is genuinely being achieved. The discriminatory treatment that some member states face within the organization has left many questioning ECOWAS's commitment to fostering a united and equal alliance. The cracks in ECOWAS unity become evident when Western nations impose their influence and discriminate against African nations even within the confines of this regional organization. It's a bitter pill to swallow when the very platform meant to unite West African nations becomes a stage for unequal treatment. The essence of ECOWAS lies in its member states' daily struggles and triumphs. From economic partnerships to peacekeeping efforts, the organization was established as a beacon of hope for West Africa. However, recent incidents have sparked conversations about whether ECOWAS is truly serving the interests of its African members or inadvertently becoming a puppet to external influences. In diplomacy, experts are questioning the effectiveness of ECOWAS in addressing the real issues faced by West African nations. Are economic partnerships truly equal? These pressing questions demand answers to ensure that ECOWAS remains a genuine force for positive regional change. For a region as diverse as West Africa, unity is not just a concept, but a necessity. ECOWAS was supposed to be the glue that binds nations together, fostering a sense of collective responsibility and shared prosperity. However, if discrimination persists within the organization, the dream of a united West Africa could remain elusive. Now, you must be thinking, what happened? Well, wait for it, because what ECOWAS did with the African nations is something most of you won't believe. Considering ECOWAS's purpose, ECOWAS must address these concerns head-on, ensuring that equality, justice, and collaboration are not mere rhetoric but concrete pillars upon which the organization stands. ECOWAS is not just an institution but a beacon of hope, a catalyst for positive change that transcends national borders. How did ECOWAS fail to fulfill its duty? In the ever-evolving narrative of West African affairs, a recent matter got attention, and that is the expulsion of Niger from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. This decision, triggered by a military coup that ousted President Mohamed Bazoum, raises fundamental questions about the legitimacy of such an action. The expulsion of a member country is no small matter. Niger's removal from the organization following political unrest and a military intervention brings forth crucial questions about the principles guiding such decisions. Experts are left contemplating the legitimacy of ECOWAS's actions, seeking transparency and accountability in the decision-making process. The lack of clarity surrounding the merits behind Niger's expulsion adds a layer of complexity to an already delicate situation. Experts emphasize the need for transparency, demanding a thorough understanding of the criteria used by ECOWAS to reach such a consequential decision. Without a clear explanation, doubts emerge about the fairness and impartiality of the expulsion process, leaving room for speculation and mistrust among member states. Some experts' concern is not merely about the expulsion, but its potential repercussions for West African solidarity. ECOWAS, conceived as a unifying force, is now facing a test of its commitment to fostering collaboration and resolving conflicts. The expulsion of a member country sends ripples across the region, impacting the delicate balance of relationships among nations. In experts' view, the expulsion of Niger prompts reflection on the effectiveness of ECOWAS in maintaining stability and preventing political crises. Instead of fostering unity, the organization's decision to expel a member country raises doubts about its ability to navigate complex political scenarios and uphold the ideals of collective responsibility. People left questioning whether ECOWAS is equipped to handle such challenges without compromising the solidarity it was established to promote. The potential consequences of Niger's expulsion extend beyond political dynamics, reaching into the heart of West African unity. But why did this happen? In West African geopolitics, an expert raises a thought-provoking assertion that adds a new layer of complexity to the expulsion of Niger from the economic community of West African states. According to experts, the decision to expel Niger may not be solely a result of internal dynamics, but could be swayed by external powers, notably France. In drawing parallels to neocolonialism, people contend that this expulsion might manifest a divide-and-conquer strategy employed by France, potentially jeopardizing the unity of West African countries. This sheds light on a critical aspect that transcends the immediate context of Niger's expulsion. The external influences, particularly those exerted by France, may be steering the decisions within ECOWAS. This claim prompts a re-evaluation of the motives behind the expulsion and raises concerns about the autonomy of West African nations in determining their internal affairs. The alleged influence from France could be a modern manifestation of historical power dynamics. The divide-and-conquer strategy, often associated with colonial-era tactics, is, according to Gonga, subtly at play in the decision to expel Niger. This assertion strikes a chord with many who fear that the unity of West African countries may be at risk due to their increasing influence. The West also said that the African nations are controlled by external pressure, threatening the West. That's why they expelled Niger out. This perspective challenges the narrative surrounding Niger's expulsion, urging a deeper examination of the geopolitical forces at play. If external influences are shaping the decisions within ECOWAS, questions arise about the organization's ability to act independently and in the best interests of its member states. The notion of France's alleged influence introduces a layer of skepticism regarding the motives behind Niger's expulsion. People demand transparency in understanding the extent to which external powers may dictate the course of events within ECOWAS. The fear is about expelling a single country and potentially eroding West African sovereignty and unity. In the face of these allegations, these claims highlight the need for West African nations to safeguard their autonomy and resist external pressures that may compromise their collective interests. In the matter of West African security, the question remains: if a security threat emerges, does it signify a failure on the part of the ECOWAS to fulfill its mandate? The recent expulsion of Niger, especially if influenced by external forces, not only raises concerns about the organization's commitment to self-determination and sovereignty, but also prompts a critical examination of its effectiveness in addressing security threats. The core principles upon which ECOWAS was founded include safeguarding self-determination and sovereignty among member states. However, the expulsion of Niger under the shadow of potential external influence challenges the very essence of these principles. If the decision to expel a member is driven by forces external to the region, it raises questions about ECOWAS's ability to protect the sovereignty it was established to uphold. The role of ECOWAS in addressing security threats is central to its mission. The organization was conceived as a regional mechanism for conflict prevention, resolution, and promoting stability. In the face of a security threat, ECOWAS is expected to act as a unifying force, coordinating efforts to protect the collective security of member states. However, the expulsion of a member country may signal a breakdown in this coordination, prompting a re-evaluation of ECOWAS's overall effectiveness. The expulsion of Niger, especially if influenced by external forces, adds a layer of complexity to ECOWAS's role in maintaining regional security. It questions whether the organization has the mechanisms to identify and counteract external pressures that may compromise the stability of member states. The incident prompts a crucial examination of ECOWAS's responsiveness to emerging security threats and its capacity to act independently in the best interests of West African nations. The ongoing challenges within ECOWAS highlight the need for the organization to address security threats and fortify its internal mechanisms against external influences. The expulsion of a member country, if tied to external coercion, highlights the urgency of reinforcing ECOWAS's commitment to the principles of self-determination and sovereignty. But why would France do that? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. As we trace the historical timeline, France's involvement is evident in West African history. Instances where France's interests may have clashed with the aspirations of West African nations are highlighted. The alleged interference in Niger's affairs and the exploitation of natural resources emerge as focal points, igniting suspicions about France's enduring role in the region. Examining moments where France's presence in West Africa may have shaped the destiny of nations, the clash of interests becomes apparent. Instances are meticulously highlighted, where the aspirations of West African countries seemingly conflicted with the objectives pursued by France. A key observation revolves around the alleged interference in Niger's affairs. The looming question is whether the interference witnessed in the past has left an indelible mark on the region's ability to chart its course. But how has France interfered in Africa, especially Niger? The relationship between France and Niger has been deformed by accusations of exploitation, particularly concerning Niger's uranium resources, which are crucial for the operation of French nuclear power plants. This alleged exploitation has not only sparked anti-French sentiment, but has also brought to the forefront the broader issue of France-Afrique, symbolizing France's historical dominance in Africa. Accusations against France include claims of monetary hegemony over several African states, with Niger being a significant focus due to its valuable uranium deposits. The accusations extend to allegations of unequal dealings, with France purportedly disregarding Niger's national mining law. The situation has given rise to growing discontent in West Africa, prompting many to call for an end to France-Afrique and challenging France's perceived interference in the affairs of African nations. The exploitation of Niger's uranium resources is a central point of contention. France's heavy reliance on Niger's uranium for its nuclear power plants has raised questions about the fairness of the economic relationship. The accusations of monetary hegemony and unequal dealings highlight a power dynamic that some argue goes beyond mutually beneficial collaboration. Anti-French sentiment in West Africa has gained momentum, fueled by perceived exploitation and interference in Niger's affairs. The recent decision to expel Niger from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, for defying French orders has intensified the scrutiny of France's control in Africa. This expulsion has become a symbol of resistance against French dominance and a demonstration of the ongoing struggle for African sovereignty. The accusations against France are not isolated. They resonate with broader concerns about neo-colonialism and the impact of French influence on African nations. The calls for an end to France-Afrique and the push for autonomy reflect a collective desire within the region to break free from historical patterns of domination. Some experts say that the reason why Niger was expelled is because it didn't let France maintain its dominance. So, what challenges will ECOWAS face now? In West African diplomacy, concerns have arisen about potential challenges to the unity of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. There is a need for the organization to maintain its role as a unifying force rather than becoming a platform for radical decisions. The recent expulsion of Niger from ECOWAS has sparked discussions about the potential consequences and precedent-setting implications. Analysts argue that such actions could open the door for external powers to exploit perceived vulnerabilities within the organization, potentially leading to the isolation of other member states. Beyond the expulsion of a single nation, broader concerns exist about the impact on West African unity. ECOWAS, originally conceived as a bastion of collaboration and mutual support, is urged to exercise caution in its decisions to avoid discord among member states. The call is for ECOWAS to function as a stabilizing force, prioritizing unity and cooperation over actions that may escalate existing tensions. Some view the expulsion of Niger as more than a standalone incident. It is seen as a potential crack in the foundation of West African unity. Analysts worry that such decisive actions could be leveraged by external forces to drive a wedge between member states, weakening the collective strength of ECOWAS. Now it is simple to realize that the reason why Niger was expelled is not because of security concerns, but it is the lack of French influence over Niger that made it take such action against Niger. Will this treatment ever end? Before that, let's discuss why Western nations do not treat African nations right. In the global arena, the unequal treatment of African nations by Western countries stands as a challenge, woven together by historical, economic, and political threads. Africa is a continent where most nations are treated unequally. This inequality, deeply intertwined with historical legacies, ongoing systemic failures, and disparities in access to opportunities and public services, finds further amplification through trade relations characterized by market concerns, impacts on local industries, and double standards in agreements. The roots of inequality run deep, and historical imprints play a substantial role in shaping the current landscape. South Africa, the model of this inequality, grapples with a complex history where race acts as a significant determinant. The impact of colonization reverberates through time, leaving a legacy contributing to the disparities in the country's social and economic fabric. Systemic failures at the government level further exacerbate the plight of African nations. The struggle for equitable access to opportunities and essential public services persists, with governance shortcomings amplifying existing inequalities. As African nations navigate development challenges, the need for effective governance becomes increasingly evident to address the root causes of disparity. Trade relations between Africa and the West are yet another battleground for inequality. Concerns about market liberalization, the adverse effects on local industries, and double standards in trade agreements cast a shadow on the pursuit of fair economic collaboration. The intricate relations between African nations and their Western counterparts reveal a delicate balance stained by disparities hindering mutual prosperity. The recent expulsion of Niger from the Economic Community of West African States (ECO) was due to defiance of French orders, raises a crucial question. Does France expelling Niger have any impact on the West African nation? Contrary to conventional expectations, Niger appears resolute in its stance against French dominance. Niger's leadership has explicitly expressed its desire for France to end its historical dominance and military presence in the country. The sentiment is grounded in a complex historical backdrop, where the scars of colonialism, economic interests, and political dynamics have shaped the relationship between France and Niger. Niger's call for an end to French dominance is rooted in a history characterized by French military presence, economic interests, especially in uranium exports, and a legacy of colonial exploitation. The recent political shifts in Niger, marked by a coup, have produced a newfound determination among the country's leadership to distance itself from France. The explicit demands include the withdrawal of French troops and ending the perceived dominance that has defined their relationship. This bold move by Niger reflects a broader transformation occurring in Africa, where nations are redefining their relationships with former colonial powers. Post-colonial dynamics, economic interests, and geopolitical influences are pivotal factors shaping the evolving narratives between African nations and their former colonial masters. While the expulsion from ECOWAS may carry implications for Niger in terms of regional collaboration and economic ties, the country seems prepared for such consequences. The willingness to endure potential challenges stemming from expulsion highlights Niger's commitment to breaking free from historical patterns of external influence. In recent times, Africa has been making bold strides towards independence, firmly asserting its sovereignty and rejecting any attempts by the West to wield control over the continent. The era of master-slave relationships is ending, giving way to a new era of cooperation and business partnerships. With its rich cultural heritage and diverse resources, Africa has long been a subject of exploitation and external influence. However, the continent is now persistent in breaking free from historical patterns of subjugation. The call for true independence echoes loudly across the nations, emphasizing the importance of establishing equal and mutually beneficial relationships. This pivotal moment in African history signifies the rejection of past inequalities and the embrace of new opportunities for economic growth and development. African nations are keen on fostering partnerships based on respect, fairness, and shared prosperity. The emphasis is on building a future where collaboration prevails over exploitation. The message is clear. Africa is open for business, but comes with a condition: a commitment to fair and equitable practices. The continent is no longer willing to be a pawn in the games of geopolitical influence. Instead, it is positioning itself as an active player in the global economic arena, determined to protect its interests and assert its independence. In this era of empowerment, Africa understands the value of responsible and transparent business engagements. Nations that seek to engage with Africa must recognize that the days of one-sided relationships are over. Africa is ready to engage in mutually beneficial partnerships that uplift both parties. The continent is keen on fostering economic growth that benefits its people and contributes to the overall prosperity of the global community. Do you think Niger should prevent France from becoming too influential in Niger? Should it also stop other Western nations as well? Why is the West obsessed with taking control over Africa? Let us know in the comments section if they just want to exploit. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.
Deposit Photos Music.